A very warm welcome to all. We are here today to talk about the Global Online Master's Degree Program in International Relations, Security and Strategy, which is being developed by the team of experts and practitioners at Jindal School of International Affairs in collaboration with the leading global online learning platform, Coursera. It's designed for working professionals, students, enthusiasts of international relations, global diplomacy, national security, and advocacy. It's a flexible 100% online master's degree program. It is a one-of-a-kind degree program that enables learners to develop a global perspective on international relations and foreign policy, which is being offered from the #1 private university in India, which is OP Jindal Global University. We have three distinguished panelists with us today. We have with us Professor Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, who is the Dean of Jindal School of International Affairs. Professor Chaulia is a social scientist, an opinion maker on international issues. He holds his doctorate and a Master's of Arts in Political Science and International Relations from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, Syracuse University, USA, and a Master of Science degree in History of International Relations at the London School of Economics and Political Science, UK. He was a rather Christian British Chevening Scholar at the University of Oxford, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree as well. Professor Chaulia's areas of specialization include diplomacy, foreign policy, comparative politics, international political economy, international organizations, armed conflict, humanitarian practices, and contemporary world history. He teaches courses related to these subjects and has over 920 publications in these domains. His writings have appeared in journals in the USA, UK, Australia, Canada, and India, and many other countries across the globe. So welcome, Professor Chaulia. We're really privileged to have you with us for this panel. Our next distinguished panelist for the evening is Ambassador Professor Dr. Mohan Kumar, who has had an outstanding career in the Indian Foreign Service, which lasted a span of 36 years. He was India's ambassador to France, based in Paris. Under his watch, the Indo-French strategic partnership was strengthened and consolidated further in spheres such as defense, space, nuclear and solar energy, smart cities, and investment. Earlier, Ambassador Mohan Kumar was India's ambassador to the Kingdom of Bahrain, where he witnessed and dealt with a strategically complex region characterized by events such as the Arab Spring. Ambassador Dr. Mohan Kumar's specialization includes diplomatic practice in foreign policy, strategic partnership with India's neighbors, multilateral negotiations, especially trade negotiations, climate change, and globalization. Professor Kumar is also the program director of this online MAIRSS program. We also have with us Professor Devika Mishra, who is an assistant professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Professor Devika holds an MPhil in Latin American Studies and a Master's in Politics from School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. She has a Bachelor's in English from Lady Sreeram College for Women, University of Delhi. And she's also the Student Success Coordinator of these online masters in IRSS. So once again, a very warm welcome to all our distinguished panelists. We want to start off today's conversation with you, Professor Chaulia. And my first question to you is if you could throw a little bit of light on the vision behind this online master's program in international relations, security and strategy, which is being offered in partnership with Coursera. Professor Chaulia.
Thank you, Professor Mahanta. Thank you. Greetings all. It's great to be engaging with prospective applicants to our degree program again. We've done this once before, last August, and the first cohort joined us and have been taking classes since September, and I can tell you it's been a smash hit. We have more than 25 nationalities represented in the first cohort that joined the program from around the world. There's probably not a single continent that's not represented in the MAIRS as the first cohort that joined. And looking at the interest, I am pretty confident that we will have at least 50 countries or more by March 1st, 2022, which is the start date for the next semester and for the spring admission to be completed. So just imagine we sitting here in India being able to offer world-class learning to people from across such a vast array of countries. This is just mind-boggling. And although we as a university have existed for 12 years now, we have never had these many foreign students as we have been able to acquire in just the last few months with the launch of the online masters in international relations, security, and strategy. So clearly there's something in the degree program, in the very title of the degree program, in the contents, in the quality of our faculty, and in the career prospects and other things that are attracting people. And I can tell you, folks, it's a very intergenerational class. We have young people who have just completed their bachelor's degrees and are doing masters straight out of college. There are many who have done, who have worked in their home countries or are living abroad for many years and are coming back to get an education after a break. And there are some who already have master's degrees and even PhD degrees and who are teaching themselves, but want to upgrade their skills and are coming back to us to do this master's. So quite incredible, the interest and the geographical span of our student body. So I welcome all of you who are here in the webinar today. I can see there are more than 80 participants as of now, and I'm sure all of you will have lots to ask us. But coming back to Professor Mahanta's point about why we conceived and did this program, it's precisely because of this. We are a global university and we believe that education should have no boundaries. And when we started our degree programs way back in 2009, it was all on campus in person. And until the pandemic struck in late 2019, we were all primarily doing this on campus in-person mode learning and teaching. We have a prior MA degree here in the in-person mode called the Masters in Diplomacy, Law and Business, which has been quite successful. It was offered first in 2011. So, but once the pandemic came, once there was this massive disruption, even our on-campus students were all dispersed and we were teaching them online. And suddenly, it was like a revolutionary break from the past. We used to think that online was somehow inferior or maybe not as good as the real thing being the in-person learning. So we hesitated and we had never ventured to offer fully online degree programs before the pandemic came. But last year, 2020, it was a devastating year for the world. 2021 sadly has been equally bad. But in a way, the crisis pushes us to do something new and innovative. So that's where we came up with the idea of this fully online MA degree. We teamed up with Coursera, which of course is very, very widely reputed and high quality platform for online learning. And we initially thought of doing some MOOCs, massive open online courses that are free for anyone to take. And then it dawned on us that there is no degree program at all in the vast repertoire of Coursera, or for that matter, any other rival platform, which caters specifically to international studies. Most of the degree programs are on business and linked to business studies or science and technology. So clearly we felt when we designed a course like this, which combines international relations, international security, and strategy into a single whole, we thought that there was a need out there that had to be filled. And so that's how this came about, as Professor Mahanta asked me, and I wanted to give you the backdrop to this. I believe that this is going to change lives, and this is going to create vast learning opportunities for all of you. Conveniently, wherever you're located, you don't have to relocate and come to India or to Sonipat, where our campus is, and still benefit from our outstanding faculty members and experts, mixture of practitioners and theoreticians. I think this is the future. So So Professor Mahanta, we invested in the future at a time of crisis, and it's paying off, as we can see from this enormous interest from across the world.
Thank you, Professor Sreeram. And I just want to take a moment here to acknowledge the interest that we are seeing. I mean, I'm just looking at the chat, and we have, prospective participants joining in from Nigeria, Philippines, Indonesia, USA, Myanmar, Egypt, Brazil. So thank you all who have joined in to be part of this conversation. I just want to reiterate that if you have any questions, please put it on the chat box, and we would want to devote at least half an hour to respond to the kind of queries that you all are putting it in the chat box. Please kindly put your questions there. Professor Kumar, I would like to request you to weigh in on this conversation. And if you could tell us a little bit about the program itself. What will students learn in these programs? What could be the possible outcomes that they can expect after doing the MAIRSS program? Over to you, Professor Kumar.
Thank you very much, Professor Mahanta. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll try to take off from where my senior colleague, Professor Chaulia, left, which is try and understand what the course is all about. I'll certainly answer your question about the details. But before that, one of the things that I noticed during my 36 years in the Foreign Service is that you need to know something other than your specific domain expertise. So let's assume you are a sales manager. In a company, you don't end up being the CEO unless you master the other departments of the company. Similarly, I would say that for somebody who's in a corporate world or who's in a specific area such as software development or even a sales manager, as I said, if you do not know what is happening in the international landscape, it limits your progress. So it's not just learning international relations for the sake of learning it. Of course, those who are passionate about international relations should do this. That's a no-brainer. But I'm talking of even people who are in a corporate environment and who want to make advancements in their career. You probably want to make a switch in terms of going to a different land and trying to do the same thing. And you cannot do it unless you have some idea about what is happening in the world today. So that is the way I would push for anybody to do this course. If I may also say, I mean, I have educated 2 children in Canada, and I have to frankly say this cost of this course is like giving it free. I feel a little bad, and I hope my colleague will not mind my saying this, Professor Sreeram Chaulia. I said to him the first time he mentioned to me the cost of the course, I told him very frankly, I think I'm worth a little more. To be honest, we joked about it, but this is a steal, frankly. You know, I'm not trying to say, I don't want to be immodest, but you will learn from me, for example, about diplomatic practice. 2 of my other colleagues are great practitioners. One of them, Professor Shishir Upadhyay, who's a retired naval person who's going to talk to you about maritime security, for example. The third person is Pankaj Jha, for example. He's going to talk about national security, and he has been with the National Security Council. Professor Chaulia, I think Professor Mahanta introduced him as well. So he will talk about the world policy and what great powers do in the context of world politics. I mean, we are not just people who have come in and started teaching international relations is all I'm trying to say. I think what the course does is the following. If you take my course, for example, diplomatic practice, you might be inclined to think I may be talking about what ambassadors do, what diplomats do. That is a small part of the course. But if you are, for example, an expatriate in a foreign country, it makes sense to know what embassies should or should not do. The commercial wing of the embassies, for example, these days have an obligation to help companies. And if you don't understand the working of the corporate or the commercial wing of the embassy, you're missing out. They have an obligation to help you. Similarly, the wing of the embassy that takes care of expatriates, for example. You could have visa issues, you could have issues which you find yourself in a foreign country. So the working of the embassy within the framework of the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations and the Vienna Convention of the Consular Relations is something that any expatriate or any would-be expatriate should know. This is just basic fundamental knowledge that you seek to have if you think the world is your entire market. And frankly, most of us now should not be limited by the country in which we are located. You need to explore opportunities outside of your comfort zone and outside of your region. And I am saying you cannot do that without a profound and deep understanding of the international relations dynamic. So I would say at one broad level, this is what the course seeks to do. The other thing that the course seeks to do is to look at events. And even if you are not a practitioner of IR, just the takeover of Taliban in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has been taken over by Taliban, for example. What are the dimensions of that issue with regard to the business that you are in? It's going to make a difference to the region. It's also going to make a difference to, frankly, Afghanistan itself. So we are, or take the US-China friction, for example, the US-China trade friction. This is going to leave no country unaffected and no business unaffected. It challenges existing companies. It also throws up opportunities for companies. And this is something you need to understand. The container crisis that is happening just now, the lack of containers, for example. So I think what we try to do in our courses is introduce basic concepts from a practitioner's perspective. And therefore, if you are older, this is not for kids who are straight out of college or school. So even if it is a mature audience, we are trying to see how IR can help you make advances in your career by seeking a better understanding of your profession, situate your profession in the context of the international landscape. So I think it can be extremely useful for everybody. I also think there is a fair bit of theory, which is not a very big part, but nevertheless, it's important to know the theory, the basic fundamental aspects of the theory of international relations as well. That, of course, is par for the course, and we have courses on that. But on the whole, I would say that you will come out of this course with a much better understanding of great power politics and how it affects your business or whatever you're doing. Secondly, it will give you an idea of looking at events from a fresh perspective that you have not done before. You know, you look at something in a newspaper, the New York Times, Washington Post, or the Economist, or the Financial Times, and you just move on. Now, that is not the way the world is going to operate. Everything, take COVID, for example. One of the modules that I will teach is that diplomacy or diplomatic practice has been completely upended by COVID-19. It's completely changed the way heads of state behave with each other, diplomats behave with each other. And obviously, if you belong to the corporate world, your own practice would have changed as well, thanks to COVID. So how can you understand some of these phenomena from an international relations perspective and interpret it for your company and for your personal advancement? I think this is what the course does. And I will repeat my point, which I made earlier. It's a steal, frankly. What you will be paying for is absolutely nothing compared to what you're going to get. This I can say without fear of contradiction, because we have been through one semester already. I've already taught one cohort. And as I think Professor Mahanta said in the beginning, what has been exciting for me, if you ask me, is the fact that in one cohort, I'm looking at somebody from Equatorial Guinea, from Brazil, from Europe, from the United States, from South Korea, Japan, not to mention Pakistan. So that kind of a challenge, if you like, and really exciting to teach a class like this. This can never happen physically. It's not easy to get such a wide variety of people with different backgrounds. And what has been fascinating for me is to understand the perspective of an African as opposed to a European, as opposed to an American, and my own perspective, which of course is Indian. At the end of the day, I'm an Indian. But I think this is what you will get in the classroom. you will get different points of view from people with different national backgrounds rubbing against each other, creating a very vibrant classroom, even if it is online. And I think that makes for an extremely interesting classroom. So I'll stop here and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Professor Mahanta.
Thank you so much, Professor Kumar. And I think I know I want to move to Professor Devika and sort of take off from where you left. And you spoke about the rich classroom experience. And Professor Devika, if you could just throw a little bit more light on that. We've had the first cohort of students. So if you could talk a little bit about what has been the experience with the first batch of students, about the peer-to-peer learning experience, faculty interaction, and what Professor Kumar also spoke about, being the classroom experience like.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Mohan. I think we're being very formal to each other. We're all friends. So I'll just start calling you Upasana after this. But when we were designing this course, I think the main points that Professor Chaulia and Professor Kumar have already raised, firstly, pedagogically, when you're designing an IR degree, this is the dream scenario, to be able to create a classroom where you can actually have first-hand experiences of people coming in from different backgrounds, different histories, realizing very much how complicated IR actually is. And this is not possible in the best sort of programs on campus, because this kind of variety cannot actively be sustained by an on-campus program. So when we were designing the course, this was the hope, that how do we take all of our expertise, being an Indian university with a very, very international faculty base, with the practitioner's point of view very firmly entrenched in the pedagogy of our program, and how do we convert this methodology online? So one of the things that we tried to really do was think a lot about how we are designing our assessment. Most of the assessment in the IR program, in the MA-IRSS program, it is group project work, but it's very, very specifically curated group project work. So you build a community. We are actually actively fostering you to build small groups of people whom you're working with. It doesn't affect your grade because we do the arduous task of grading everyone individually, but you learn how to sit and work together. You kind of learn how do I gain all the advantages of an online degree, working at my own pace, around my own schedule, but not really face what is the biggest drawback for online learning, which is the isolation, the lack of a classroom environment. So all of our assessment is group work till you get to that stage where you could, decide to take an individual research project, which is an MA dissertation. All of our work is group work. You build small communities whom you're working with. You're continuously interacting with new people. The format of teaching, it is not just asynchronous lectures. We have a very active and dedicated advising and mentoring program. So all our faculty conduct live sessions. They conduct live office hours. Our tutors conduct things every week. So it's almost having access to both, the best parts of both worlds. This question about what has the experience been like, especially as a very new degree and a very budding degree, I would say. I believe that we have learned a lot from our students. We are continuously committed to develop this degree in a way that it would be more meaningful for our learners. So we are continuously having these conversations with a variety of people coming and doing this degree. How can we design our electives? How can we design our policies? How can we do very, very new things even with online learning? How do we come up with a sort of hybrid model to kind of answer these problems which we might not have been able to think of while we were designing? So it's been a very, very enriching experience for me as somebody who's been working with the students. It's been a learning experience, and it's truly remarkable just how challenging this program is in terms of the possibilities. So I'm very glad to see that we have around over 90 participants now. I can tell you that we are not joking when we say everybody is represented in the program. This is a very, very first cohort. And you could be in a group where you have somebody from Japan sitting down and working with somebody from Pakistan, from India, from the US, from Brazil, and challenges of how do you define time zones? How do you define work? How do you decide, how do you prioritize your learning in the midst of living your very busy life during a pandemic? So it's been a very, very exciting project. And I'm looking forward to see what this new cohort brings us.
Well, thank you very much for that, Devika. And I think you are right in saying that there are advantages to online learning. There are also certain challenges to it. And it's good to know what has been done in terms of live sessions, in terms of mentoring, peer support, that one expects to happen only in the context of the physical learning process, that you are able to do in the context of online learning. I think that is a beautiful achievement. And that is reflected also in the kind of cohort you've had and the kind of response and interest that you're seeing, as we can see happening currently in terms of the course. Now, we have a number of questions coming in, and I would really like to give, with all of your permission, enough time to be able to respond to those questions. But some of the things that I'm looking at the chat, and some of the things that many are interested in knowing, I want to flag that first before going ahead with other questions. I think one primary thing that many seem to be interested in knowing, and Professor Chaulia, I want to go back to you, and perhaps we can again do one round of questions. Many seem to be asking as what is it that is there for them after doing a course like this. So many want to know, and this is something that we wanted to discuss as part of the panel discussion as well, want to know about what is it that the course prepares you for in terms of job prospects. Professor Kumar also spoke about how, this is a course also for mid-career professionals. You spoke about it, which enhances your skills. But what is it that one could specifically look forward to doing after having an experience with a course like that? Professor Chaulia.
Yeah, thank you, Upasana. I think, we have recently conducted a full session for the first cohort on careers. And what came up was, we mapped out a number of sectors and organizations in their respective home countries or in their regions or at the global level, which could be open to hiring students who have taken this kind of degree. So, there is the UN system, a lot of international organizations, lots of consultancies focused on security and military and defense, for example, because there is a significant component of our program is on those issues. Also, non-traditional security issues. I see in the chat box, people asking whether we do courses on cybersecurity, on environmental issues, on climate change. So they do all get covered either individually as separate courses or within existing courses in this degree program. So clearly, if you're already working and you are doing this on the side, this will help you get a promotion in your own organization, likely, or to shift to another organization that is more of your core interest. I mean, sometimes we have students who may be doing something not really close to their heart. They want to change and they want to come back. They have a passion for global issues and solving global problems like terrorism or climate change or migration or armed conflicts and stuff like that, or trade and finance. So these are the sectors where master's students, if you take our on-campus master's graduates, they're all doing so well in these kinds of sectors, trying to solve problems in these fields. So I don't see why our online MAIRSS students cannot do likewise. In fact, they have more options because they are not just here in India, and they're across the world. And I think the main thing is to have high grades throughout the program and to write a really quality master's dissertation if you're opting for that in your fourth semester, in your final semester, and make the most of this, of the expertise that we have as faculty to equip yourself. So consultancies, think tanks, embassies and high commissions and consulates, research institutions, international organizations, news media. That's another field where a lot of you are budding writers or want to comment on what's happening or to report on what's happening in foreign countries or around the world or in your regions. But you just need that extra knowledge and the skills to be able to become a foreign correspondent or a foreign editor for an online or for a traditional TV or radio or print newspaper. So these are the kind of fields where typically our students go to. Some, of course, join their own country's foreign services, like our distinguished colleague, Ambassador Mohan Kumar. But I think the field of options is quite diverse, and it really depends on what you do your master's thesis on. It depends on what you do your concentration of electives on. Because after the first 2 semesters, you basically do have a lot of elective options. And if you look at the curriculum, and I'll request if Devika, if she can post the link to the full course curriculum in the chat box, you can see that after the core requirements are completed, you really need to choose electives in a certain way that will help you reach your destination. And we are, of course, here to support. We have a career services office, but we can never, in fact, as an education institution, guarantee jobs to anyone. We don't do that. What we do is offer you the highest quality education and give you these kind of additional ideas about how to plan your careers. And of course, we will be happy to write reference letters for you if you're applying for a new job or for a promotion and such things. So all I can assure students is that apart from the substantive learning and the knowledge acquisition, there is a career side to this program, and it's been designed in a way to make you more employable in whichever sector you are in or whichever new sector you want to get in. So once you enter the program, once you're enrolled in our program, after you apply, we will do more careers specific sessions to help advise you on how best to shape your futures.
Thank you. I'm sure that would be immensely helpful for those eagerly waiting for a response to that question. Professor Kumar, I want to quickly come to you. 2 questions that we would request you to respond to. One is many want to know if there is any background knowledge required to do a course like that. Are they expected to have some kind of background knowledge to be able to do this? And second is, is this course, I mean, you've talked about working professionals and how this course is good for working professionals, but is it going to be too much? Would they be able to commit to their job and this course at the same time?
Thank you very much, Professor Mahanta. No, I'll begin by saying that you need to be fundamentally interested in the subject area of international relations and security. I would put that far ahead of domain knowledge. We can help you with the readings. It's helpful if you have some background already. I will not deny that, but that is not a sine qua non. What I would insist is a fundamental interest and curiosity in why countries behave the way they do. This is important for everybody to know. And I think that is what I would, and to add on to what Professor Chaulia has said, and I think he has made a very detailed presentation, I don't have too much to add to it. But one thing I would say, which is, even if you are in a small company and you are producing reports, you need to write reports keeping in mind the international environment. This is extremely important. Otherwise, you are really like a frog in a well, and you're only taking into account what your company is all about. So I think expanding the horizons of your knowledge by appreciating what is going on around you in the area of security, international relations, and in terms of country strategy is, I think, extremely important. So I would say to the first part of your question that the background is something that we can help with, but it is, the person should be deeply interested in the subject. That is much more important, I think, than a basic knowledge that you already have. Well, sorry, Professor Mahanta, what was the second one? Sorry, I missed it. The second
was about, Mr. Kumar, about working professionals and whether they are
Right.
able to commit to their current work and also to the course at the same time.
So that's a good question. And I want to give an honest answer since we have already dealt with one cohort. I think it is important that you keep in mind that we have a reputation as the #1 private university in India, and we are not going to sacrifice by making sure all of you will get 70 or 80%. We've been, I've been working with Devika, my colleague, Professor Devika Mishra, and others to moderate the grade. And frankly, we are a top university in India. We are the #1 private university in India, #1 rank. And the QS rankings put us now in the top 700 very easily. And certainly the #1 university as far as international relations is concerned in India. So given this reputation, we will not be able to pass each and every one of you if you do not put in the effort. Having said that, I think there is so much flexibility that we are offering. The video, for example, I think you need to know this. Some of us have painstakingly recorded 8 to 10-minute videos. Initially, I found it very strange that, 8 to 10 minutes is too short a time. But Coursera, very rightly, obviously they've done their homework, and the Coursera platform, as you know, is the best platform for this kind of learning. They have said, keeping in mind working professionals, keeping in mind a mature audience, you can really focus on 8 to 10-minute videos. And what we try to do is pick one important big concept and explain it in that 8 to 10 video. So most of us have had to do at least, we're talking 20 to 25, 30 videos just to finish a course. And we've had to split it into 8 to 10-minute videos so that it makes it very easy for you. In a way, we are spoon feeding you with concepts actually. So that is what you can expect. And you will need to put in the hard yards because you're not going to get an MA degree just, by glancing at something. So Professor Chaulia will bear me out. We don't want to pass everybody because quality is important for us. But having said that, there is so much flexibility on offer that if you work over the weekends, for example, there was a question on how often you can meet the professor. Now, myself and my teaching assistant, we have religiously come every Tuesday, 1 hour between 6 and 7, every Tuesday. And we do it in the evening so that it can suit people from different time zones. Now, this is an amazing kind of opportunity because even in the physical classes at university, we give only 1 or 2 hours every week. And I'm sparing 1 hour every to ask whatever questions people want to ask. And all of the professors are doing it. So I don't think we can do much more. And I would say it is very, very doable, but you do need a certain amount of diligence and a certain amount of time management is important on your behalf because, you seamlessly move from one course to the other. You're not going to get a big break, maybe a week or 10 days. I think Professor Devika will be able to explain this better, but you don't get a very long break and then you're on to the other course. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Actually, that is a perfect segue for me to go to Professor Devika. Devika, if you could, elaborate a little bit on the actual execution of the course. How are the live sessions planned? How often are they held? What is expected of people who are attending these courses? There are many questions regarding this. I just also want to say that Devika has already put it in the chat box, the link to the curriculum. So all of you can click on that and have a better understanding of what is being taught. But Devika, could you elaborate a little bit more about the execution of the course, live sessions, how they are planned, so on and so forth?
Sure. I think that's a really good question to ask, especially because this is an online degree. So I'll quickly go through some points which I've been answering in the Q&A panel as well as on the chat and try and explain what we are doing. How does this hybrid teaching methodology of live and asynchronous content work? So the degree program is basically divided over 4 semesters. We offer a lot of flexibility in terms of how much time you can take to complete the actual degree. The minimum duration for the program is 2 years because it's a master's degree. Every semester is divided into 2 terms. So we offer 4 courses over the semester, 2 terms in a semester, 2 courses per term. Now, each course runs for a duration of roughly 10 weeks. It's all very, very carefully calibrated. So there's something called learner engagement hours, which Coursera works with. And we spent a lot of time, as Professor Kumar was mentioning, about the videos, how they've been split, how the concepts have been organized. We spent a lot of time in how do we do a master's degree online while trying to keep this recognition of the fact that we are working with students for whom this is not a full-time thing. They're working professionals, they have full lives. So a course would run for the duration of 10 weeks. We have 2 special sessions, which we call live sessions. So these are sessions which are completely up to your instructor, and they can be on things beyond your course module as well. Interesting discussions which are happening around the world, contemporary topics, contemporary debates, and they generally run for more than 2.5 hours every time a live session is planned. We also spend a lot of time in making sure that we take cognizance of the fact that we have a global cohort. So some of these sessions are organized in the evening, then you will find that the next one is organized in the morning, trying to make sure that we pay attention to our global cohort. However, a new policy that we instituted once we started running the course were these weekly sessions that Professor Mohan was talking about. So every week you have almost 1.5 hours with your instructor. This is a live office hour. It runs very differently from how an on-campus office hour would run, where you would have to take an appointment and only one student gets to come to an office hour. This is again, you meeting your instructor, talking to them, figuring out, asking any question. You read something about Putin visiting India. You want Professor Mohan's opinion on it. That's the place to go and talk to him about it. Along with that, we also have very, very talented and hardworking student tutors and teaching assistants. They do their sessions as well. So, those happen weekly again. In support of all of this, as the student success coordinator, it's my job to wrangle people like Professor Chaulia to come and do special sessions for us. So we are continuously running new workshops. We're continuously, listening to feedback. For example, one of the workshops that we just concluded was the careers open house. We had a demand for this from our students, so we ran a couple of sessions on that. Now we are running this academic writing workshop. So I'm also continuously planning things with our library, with our different departments, sending you links to what's happening in the university. You're very much a part and parcel of the OP Jindal universe. So everything that's available to our on-campus learners, because of the online model, it's also available to you. You get to decide whether you want to join us live or not. We also upload all the recordings. So in case you don't have time to come for a live session, to physically be present in the webinar, you can always go and watch the recording later. And we spend a lot of time doing that, uploading everything on Coursera, ensuring that accessibility remains the cornerstone of our degree. So I just want to mention this again, I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all were you to opt for this course in terms of how much commitment and how much faculty engagement has been planned for you. Because everybody is fully committed throughout that duration. Not to mention the email support and the live meeting support that we would offer were students to ask us for it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That is truly fascinating, and what an enriching experience that it offers all students. There are so many questions. I must say this, and it is very difficult to respond to each and every one of the questions. We're trying our best. What I'm trying to do is club a few questions together and sort of have our panelists respond to it. Professor Sreeram, if you could quickly respond, because there's one question that appears time and again, is to talk a little bit about OP Jindal Global University and what does being an institute of eminence mean? And many want to know that will they get an accredited degree by the university at the end of the program?
Thank you, Upasana. Yeah, I think let me state a few factual things for all of you. First of all, there is a question about what does it mean to be called a deemed to be university. We are actually a university created by legislation, which is the only way to do it in India by law, and of the government of Haryana, which is a state government here, one of the provinces. But recently, the government of India has given us a new status of an institution of eminence. And that's why it's called deemed to be an institution of eminence on our logo and everywhere in our publicity. It means basically there are only 20 out of 900 plus universities in India, only 20 have been given this status because these are seen to be the highest quality and have the potential to break into the world rankings and to enter the top 100 in the world. For example, the law school in Jindal is already within the top 100 of the world in the subject-wise rankings. The School of International Affairs, which is offering this degree, MAIRSS, we hope to break into the top 100 in the subject-wise rankings for politics and international relations soon. So please be assured completely that there's absolutely no reason for any of you to wonder about whether this is accepted, whether this degree is accepted or accredited. I mean, it is. We are a UGC. UGC is the University Grants Commission, is the main statute, the regulatory body for universities in India, and they have recognized us. They have authorized us to offer online degree programs, and that's the reason Coursera has partnered with us, because we have all the credentials that are required. So none of you should worry. I do have sympathy for those of you who are asking, because there's a lot of fraud going on. There's a lot of bogus universities pretending to be existing and offering degree programs without actually being recognized. So it's natural for some of you to be asking this question, and we are trained to respond to this also, because we do get asked like this. And the point is simple. We are a legal entity. We are fully recognized by Indian law. We've got partnerships with the topmost universities of the world. They all recognize us, and you can use this degree anywhere, and it's worth its weight in gold if you take this degree and show it to people. Already we have a reputation, and we are in the world rankings despite being a young university. So our reputation and our accreditations with all the relevant regulatory authorities make it a no-brainer. I mean, you should not be at all worried about the credibility or creditworthiness of this degree.
Quickly, Professor Sreeram, there is an associated question that just came in, that would someone be able to pursue a PhD in IR after this degree?
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, look, it may look like an online master's, but it's quite rigorous. And if you do a dissertation it's an optional thing. In your 4th semester, you could do more elective courses, or instead of electives, you could do a dissertation. If you do a master's thesis, definitely it will be a stepping stone to a PhD. And we do have a small PhD cohort here, but you could apply to many other institutions around the world, including in your home countries, and it will be valid and it will be accepted. So if you are on that track, and then focus more on the theories course that is taught in the 1st semester, and do your dissertation, because PhD requires attachment and interest to theory and methods. So these are the key things, and we are training students more on a research track if they have that interest. Majority of the students are unlikely to go on to apply for PhDs, but even in our on-campus masters, 5 to 10% of our master students after completion do apply and get into top PhD programs around the world, including in North America and Europe. So I think that's an option. And definitely, if you have that inclination or mindset, this is a good start, but you must study hard. You must have the highest grades, and you must write a wonderful MA thesis, the dissertation, to qualify for a PhD degree after this?
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sreeram. Devika, I want to quickly come to you. And I also would request the panelists, if I have missed a question that you can see in your chat box, which you think is important, please, feel free to come in and address that. Devika, I want to come to you. If you could just take a moment to because there are a lot of technical questions about what is the fee, what is the procedure of application, what is the duration of the course, what kind of documents that they need to submit in order to be able to apply for this course. If you could quickly, we do not have much time, but if you could respond to those questions, please.
Sure, I just toggled to get the link. So I'm quickly sending a link to our Coursera page. Firstly, how do you apply? This is a master's degree, so the main requirement is that you hold an undergraduate degree in any subject. As we've been talking about throughout the webinar, our current cohort is a dizzying array of professional qualifications. And international relations is a field which is very, very interdisciplinary. So all those questions about, do I need a background? Do I need a background in IR? No, bring your own specialization, and the program is designed to help hone your perspective on how to think in an IR manner. IR is very forgiving and very accepting of different educational and training backgrounds. So how do you apply? I've just shared the link to our Coursera page and I've shared the link specifically to the admissions page, the admissions tab. You just need to click on the apply link. Our applications are open for the next cohort. Classes will start on 1st of March. All the dates are available on our website. The process is fairly simple. You need to submit a degree transcript for your undergraduate degree. If you have a master's degree, yes, of course, you can apply. If you have a PhD, yes, of course, you can apply. But if you don't have an undergraduate degree, then unfortunately, because this is a master's program, you cannot apply for this course. And we require you to answer some questions, submit a statement of purpose, or alternatively, a small written essay. And then that is evaluated at the university level. We are very interested in supporting students in pursuing this journey with us. So I would say, go and write, with gumption and with enthusiasm. And you should not be afraid of the process. It's a fairly forgiving process. We're very interested in helping students gain, this dream of getting a master's in IR. The other question was about fee. I've been seeing a lot of questions about financial aid. As of now, we do not offer financial aid for this program. And this is precisely because this is a heavily, heavily subsidized master's degree. This is the most subsidized master's degree that is available on Coursera and almost on any other platform, I'm pretty sure. It's one of the rare master's degrees that are available on online platforms. It's very, very highly curated. The kind of services that we are providing with this degree, every single week we are working out new policies which could hopefully benefit our learners. So it's in Spanish we say es un proceso de desarrollo. It's something which is still developing. So you should have all the hope in applying for this program and not worry that, is it too expensive? It's really not. I think Professor Mohan had talked at length about this. So we don't offer financial aid. The total fee for the program is 6,000 USD. It's payable on a semesterly basis. Again, that is available on the same link that I have shared. If you go into the tuition and finance section, tuition and financing section, you should find all the information there. I hope I've been quick, Upasna, and I've answered.
Devika, sorry to intrude. There is a very interesting question from Van Lian Thang in Denmark. What will be the title of the final diploma? Actually, it's a degree. Would the word online be included in the title of the degree? This is an interesting question.
Yes, I saw that question. So the good thing is that the current cohort also has this question. We are working out a solution to this. The initial thought was to have the degree say an online master's in international relations, security and strategy, but we still have some time to finalize the title. And we've had a lot of feedback from our current learners who would not like online to be mentioned there, and we're working towards that.
Thank you, Devika. I have one quick question, which is on the chat, and I think you are the right person to respond to it. Is it possible to potentially have one of the master's thesis supervisor from outside the OP Jindal Global University? Do we allow something like that?
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
As of now, we haven't considered it. So this is the beauty of being, one of the founding batches of a new degree. So we are very interested in kind of exploring these sorts of collaborations. I've been sharing repeatedly, I've been sharing our global recognitions page so that you can get an idea of the kind of universities that we are working with for our on-campus programs. As of now, we would like to encourage students to get more embedded in the JSIA, which is the Jindal School of International Affairs, the school that offers this degree. But again, if co-supervision is something which we find that many of our students are interested in, we would be happy to explore it. I also want to mention that some of our current learners had this request that if they could come and write their dissertation on campus with us. So we are talking to Coursera about this, if this sort of hybrid possibility could be worked out. We are very open to taking feedback and trying and develop our policy, because again, this is the first time that we are running this degree. So thanks for those two questions. It's given me some food for thought as well to go back and take to the drawing board.
I think your response itself speaks volume about the flexibility of the course and the fact that, the course is responsive to student feedback and the requirements of students and learners. So thank you. Devika, one final question to you before I go to Professor Chaulia and Professor Kumar for any final comments, which is, and I find this question very interesting, will you be able to allow us to travel to the campus for physical graduation?
Again, it's very interesting. It's very difficult to contemplate that when we design the degree, because we designed the degree during a pandemic. But you would be, one of the really cool things that we did was we provided all our online learners with these digital ID cards, these digital library ID cards. So that is your identification. If you're around in Delhi, reach out to your professors who are teaching you. You can book an appointment. You're obviously free to come to the campus once you have that identification, and it shouldn't be a problem. About our about our graduation. So I want to be very, very careful here. Our cohort is genuinely super global. 50% of our learners are not from India. Even in this current cohort, you would be surprised to know that the most number of students are actually from the US. They're not even from India. So logistically, I feel like this is, as somebody who's very, very committed to talking about flexibility and accessibility together, I think this is something which is alienating. So if you have an on-campus graduation and half your cohort can't come, then I feel like it's a letdown. So definitely the major proceedings would be, broadcasted on a webinar, because it's not possible for everybody to just come from all over the world for this kind of thing. But can we explore on-campus options? Sure, I promise that I will again take this suggestion and think on it. We don't have a policy on this yet.
In the post-pandemic world, because we haven't had a physical degree convocation for our on-campus students for the last 2 years, because we can't gather in any large space. So.
Yes, and I just want to here weigh in also as the Dean of Admissions and Outreach, that if you are here, if you are from India doing this course or any other part of the world but can come to India or are in India and would want to, COVID restrictions permitting, come and visit the campus. We are more than happy to facilitate and have you experience physically the campus, the infrastructure and the faculty and everything else that we have to offer. I also want to say that the applications are currently open for our March cohort. We will have 2 slides at the end of today's panel discussions that will have all details about the application and anything else that you would want to know. I just want to quickly, we've heard from Devika, quickly go to Professor Chaulia and Professor Kumar for any final comments that you have before we close today's discussion.
Well, I just want to congratulate all participants for their interest. Interest is the first step. And I can see there are a few substantive questions also. Somebody has asked a question about the S-400 anti-missile system and why there is a difference in the US approach to Turkey and India, because both of us have bought it from Russia. But why is the US applying much more pressure on Turkey and much less pressure on India? Fabulous question. It has to do with US grand strategy and their long-term geopolitical objectives. I think counterbalancing China is far more important to them than anything right now. That's the number one foreign policy priority for the US. So Turkey cannot help with that, but India can help with that. So perhaps there is this element. There are a lot many more. The last time we had a webinar, the Kabul had just fallen to the Taliban, and there were a lot of questions about the repercussions in this webinar. But there is time and space for those discussions with our faculty. I can assure you that today it was primarily focused on admissions and the nitty-gritty. So we really didn't get into the substantive issues of the world politics as they are unfolding. It's always fascinating, and there is plenty of time and room for all of us, both professors and students, and among you yourselves. There is something called a Slack, which is an online technology app through which the peer-to-peer learning also happens. There is, in every course, there is something called a discussion prompt where students are asked to reflect on something contemporary which is related to the course and to connect it to the real world news developments, world news developments. So I don't have to preach to the choir. You seem to be all world news aficionados. So I think you will enjoy this program because it will really, really raise the level of analysis and thinking. And frankly, more than a degree, what you gain in terms of your analytical abilities, your ability to articulate issues and to explain what is happening, I think that is a treasure for life. So education is meant to be a life-changing experience, and all we can do is to help you along this path.
Thank you. Professor Mohan Kumar, any final comments?
Maybe just half a minute. Thank you very much, Professor Mahanta. No, COVID is an unprecedented crisis. And there is an American political scientist who said, never allow a crisis to go waste. And one of the things, I'm on a few boards and we hire people. And one of the things that we are constantly looking, I would be disappointed if somebody said to me that the last 10 years I have been working with a company and I have nothing to show by way of new skill acquisition. This is now a big no-no. There is a crisis, it offers you an opportunity, and I think you should be in the business of acquiring new skills. And if this degree can help you acquire skills, that is a good investment to make, because you can't go around telling people 5 years from now that there was COVID, so I just did a 9-to-5 job and I was at home. They're not going to accept it because most of us are teaching online, people are learning online, companies are working online. So my question to you is, why can't you study online, especially when a course like this is offered to you? So you should grab the opportunity with both hands. Otherwise, I feel you may be missing out on something in terms of your CV and your career advancement. Thank you.
Thank you. Devika, over to you. Any final reflections?
No, not at all. I just want to quickly say that we are a very, very enthusiastic and excited team. We are very happy to answer all your questions. Please write to us at online@jgu.edu.in. I believe Anshul is going to share the slides now. Our admissions are open. It's a fairly easy to follow website. We have a lot of admissions materials that we can also share with you if you're interested in finding out more information about the courses, about your faculty. Write to us and we would be very happy to have you become a part of JSI RSS family. And from me and my young team, along with Professor Chaulia and Professor Kumar, we would be really happy if you came and joined IRSS. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. And all the details about admissions are there on the slide. All of you can see it. There may be so many questions that we were unable to address.
I'm so sorry. I just saw a chat and a chat message. Bilal, one of our students, is here. If you would like to give him 2 seconds to maybe say something.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm not quite sure if Bilal would be able to speak, given that the link that we have joined from is a speakers only link. But if Bilal would want to put something on the chat box.
He can speak. I'll let him know. I'll let him
Okay,
speak.
okay, if you could do that, Anju. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
sure,
would be
sure.
great.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to connect with my
Hello, thank you
professors.
so much for joining. Yeah, please, please.
Yeah, it has been a very nice, very full of learning journey throughout the last 3.5 months. I'm from Saudi Arabia, and it gave us a very global perspective. Everyone in the faculty is sincere. They really genuinely want to teach you. They come with an ample of experience on ground. In addition to this, you have the course designed in a way that you have group mates that you interact with and learn from them. They come from different backgrounds. At the same time, it's really flexible. So I work, as you know, online from my home. Most of the time I'm working, but in between my work, I find time to do the assignments. I find time to do the quizzes, and most of it is videos. So it's very interesting. I have a totally different background, engineering and business, and I adapted to it. It took a while, first month maybe, reading through the theories, but then it was, understanding why Kabul fall and what happened, what's happening in Ukraine. So you start understanding the global perspective, and you tie it to the theories, and you start understanding things. So 3.5 months fast forward, I would say it's worth it. It's really worth it. I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we're really, really grateful to you for coming in, because people who have tuned in to this conversation would really benefit hearing from somebody who is doing the course. So thank you so much, Bilal, for coming in and speaking about the program. I want to also take this opportunity to thank all of you who have joined in virtually, who've asked questions. Please feel free to write to us. We are more than happy to respond to all your queries. If you have currently applied, I remember seeing a question like this, and are waiting to hear from us, please wait, you will hear from us. All the details about admissions are now on your screens. You could see it on the slide. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the 3 distinguished panelists for this evening. Thank you, Professor Chaulia, Professor Kumar, and Professor Devika. And we would be very, very happy to do this again sometime soon. Come interact with you and answer all your queries. Thank you so much for joining in. We have to close this discussion for today, and we look forward to seeing you in our classrooms. And if you have any further queries, please do not hesitate to write to us. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Upasana.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.